Hello, 5th grade. Welcome to Horse and His Boy Review. I'm literally going to go through the study guide, give you some helpful hints and tips and tricks for the test. Ooh, that's a lot of alliteration. I'm going to go through it really speed fast. For most of the ones on the first page of it, this page in your thingy, this is your actual thing that you got, I'm going to not really cover a whole lot of this because most of it you should be able to figure out. For some of the ones that might be a bit trickier though, I will go over those. I'm also going to talk about some of the quotes and some of the biblical references, and we're going to talk through some of the short answers. Or at least I'm going to talk through some of the short answers. So let's get crack-a-lackin'. Okay, so first thing you're just going to go through. Remember for the final test, you don't have to write the thing. There's going to be the helpful, oh my goodness, word bank thing. Don't actually write out all the people. Just write the letter. It's easier, I promise. Okay, so anyways, main boy, main girl, that's pretty easy. Horse that runs away with boy, horse that runs away with girl, capital city, leader of Calormen. Leader of Calormen, by that I mean the Tizrock. Impulsive son of the Tizrock, you should figure that one out pretty easy. Who the Prince of Calormen wants to marry, who the son of the Tizrock wants to marry, who does Rapidash want to marry, basically. Who Shasta gets confused with because they look similar. I'm not going to say anything in case you haven't finished the book yet, but spoilers. The King of Archenland, it's King something, King Loon, I'm just going to say it. Okay, was the cat and the lions. So when the lions, anytime they appeared, and when the cat was with Shasta, they were all the same person. Who was that person? Hint, hint, he is also in like every other book in the Narnia series. That's about as obvious as I can make it. Okay, the prince's nickname. What does he get nicknamed? Like the kind of mean nickname that he gets named because of what happens to him at the end of the book. Again, I won't spoil it. It starts with an R as well. It's Rapidash something, and he wants to go by Rapidash the Peacemaker or Rapidash the whatever, but affectionately behind his back, everyone calls him this because it was a little funny what happened. Okay, what the prince turns into when he's captured. That one's fun. Where the two children and horses agree to meet outside of the city. It's the place. Shasta arrives first, and there's 12 things there. That place. Heals Erebus and takes care of the two horses while Shasta goes on to warn King Loon and the people of Anvard. Who is that? What the people say after mentioning the Tizrock. May you live forever. Spoiler and giveaway right there. The name of the fisherman who adopted Shasta, who his father but not actual father was. Corrin's nickname when he gets older. Oh my goodness, I love it. Okay, Shasta's actual name. The bravest of our 4 characters. These are the ones I'm going to talk about a little more, the ones at the bottom. Okay, so of the 4 characters, there's one who kind of stands out as remarkably brave, because when they're being chased and they're about to reach the Hermit of the Southern March, who goes back to help? Who is that? And that should give away who the bravest is, because there's one person who doesn't go back, for sure does not go back, and someone does to try and help the others despite it being a lion. So who is it who goes back to help Erebus? There you go. Okay, the proudest of our 4 characters. Hint, hint, this is the one who doesn't like that his tail has been cut and is constantly putting down Hwin because he is, the better, more experienced warhorse who knows everything, except he doesn't. And he doesn't want to go into Narnia until his hair and his tail has grown back out because he's that full of himself. Who is that? The humblest and most sensible of the 4 characters, who is the one who puts in sensible suggestions and frequently gets shot down by other people, but is very sweet and very just, okay, well, I'll go with what the group says. Who is that? And the first of our 4 characters who will admit that they are wrong. This one, I hope you can get instantly just from hearing that. It's the one of our 4 characters who's one of the most misunderstood besides Shasta. It's one of the characters where they'll do what's right. They will do what's right. And it's a female character, and it's not the humble one, so hopefully that gives it away. But they immediately, when Shasta does that, they say, you went back, and that's not something most of us would have done, and I'm sorry for misjudging you. And that's a very good trait, to be humble. Okay, turning the page. Short answer. What book of the Bible is the story mainly and mostly based on? That would be Exodus, if you couldn't tell. I would also give you, no, it's Exodus. This is mostly Exodus. I mean, you technically could say Deuteronomy, but, it's mostly Exodus. So it's mostly based on Exodus because it is the people coming back. And it's basically the story of Moses, essentially, with Shasta. Who was your favorite character and why? Give good reasons. You can't just say, they were my favorite character because they were funny. Give me an actual reason. Or you can't just say, they were my favorite character because they were good. No, tell me an actual reason. And I mean an actual reason. For me, I would say my favorite character is probably Aravis because she's very brave. She will definitely admit when she's wrong, when something happens, and she is humble enough to admit when she's incorrect, and I think that's very admirable. I also love Bree because as silly as he is and as prideful as he finally is able to come to the realization that it's not about him or about how he looks. It's about Aslan or Jesus, really, and he's finally able to see that, and I like seeing that in him, so that's good. And also he's funny. Bree hitty brinny hui ha. What character do you think you were the most like? With that, think about the main things that show a character in this. Like, what are their main weaknesses? What are your main weaknesses? What are their main best traits? And what are your best traits? Now, this isn't for you to go around your house and pray and say, I'm fantastic at this, and I'm just super good at this, and Mrs. Straka told me that I need to go around and say how great I am at all of these things. No. What I'm saying is, everyone has been given gifts by God, and they are to be used wisely and to serve the kingdom. But what are some of those traits that you've been given? For example, one of my skills is teaching. I love teaching. I was born to do it. It is clearly the calling that God had for me. That's not boasting. That's being honest. Boasting would be if I was, I'm just the best teacher in the world and no one can really compare to me and I'm just so fantastic. I can't even believe how good I am at this. That would be boasting. I am simply saying, God has given me this gift and now it's for me to use it well, but that's definitely one of the giftings that he's given me. Another gifting he has given me is the gifting of reading. I can read very quickly and I enjoy reading. I love it. It's fantastic. And also the gifting of writing. I love writing, probably partially because I have read a lot. So these are just some of my gifts and my traits. But I'm also asking you to dig a little deeper than that into your personality. What are your shortcomings and where are you good with your virtues? So, for example, if I was to say which character I think I'm the most like, oh golly, which character am I the most like? I would almost actually say the family of dwarfs that Shasta meets when he comes into Narnia. Because I'm that person where if someone's in trouble, I say, oh, okay, well, first, let's make sure you get some food. So I'm going to go make some food for you. And then you're going to sit down and go to sleep because you need sleep. And we're just going to take care of you until we can get things figured out. I will talk to people to make sure this happens, but you need to rest right now. That's exactly how I am. And I actually did something similar like that for one of my friends in high school. So if I was to say what character I'm the most like, I would probably say that. I'm the dwarfs. So with the what character are you most like and also which character do you wish you were the most like for both of those, I'm not limiting it to the four main. I'm not limiting it to Shasta, Bree, Hwin, and Aravis. It can be any of the characters in the book. Like you could say, well, I can tend to be a bit like just driven by emotion and I really want things, so I'm a little like Rapidash. Now, that's not saying that you're exactly like Rapidash or like as bad as Rapidash, but you're saying, well, I'm a bit headstrong and I tend to try and get my way, which is what Rapidash does in the book. Or you could say, well, I tend to be a little bit prideful, so I would say I'm kind of like Bree. Or I tend to be like put down frequently, so I'm kind of like Hwin. Or I tend to make quick judgments about people, like like Shasta does to Erebus, because he immediately assumes she's going to be like a snobby girl, and that proves wrong. So it can be a variety of reasons, and it does not in any way limited to those 4 characters. If it's a good reason for one of those 4 characters, that's great. But it's open beyond that. Like, immediately I said the dwarfs, because that's my go-to reaction. If someone's in trouble or needs help, I'm exactly like the dwarfs. That's what I do. Or you could say someone completely different. Like, it doesn't have to be limited to just the main characters. But if you feel like one of those, then that would be good too. I would say I'm like the dwarves and not the Hermit of the Southern March, because I don't think I'm as nice as the Hermit of the Southern March. I'm not quite that nice, but I am like the dwarves. Okay, moving on. Anyways, hopefully that helps with that question. It might have confused you a little in the packet, so hopefully that clarifies. Okay, the quotes. My good horse, you have lost nothing but your page 161. Your pride. Child, said the voice, I am telling you your story, not hers. I tell no one any story but their own. I love that. Page 232. Oh my goodness, with Corin. I love Corin, by the way. I love Corin. He's probably, like, him and the animals in Narnia are probably my 2 favorite characters in the entire book, because they're so fantastic. Corin is gloriously sarcastic and humorous. So at the very end of the book, when Rapidash is yelling at all of the lords and ladies assembled with the kings and queens of Narnia, and he says, "The bolt of Tash falls from above," and Corin gloriously says, "Doesn't ever get caught on a hook halfway." I love it. And then of course his father's response of, "Hush, Corin, never insult a man who is I can't remember the exact quote, who is bound or weaker than yourself, then as you please." So as long as it's an equal fight, then fine, go for it. But right now he's tied up and you're not, so chill out a little. And then of course I love how it finishes off what happens with Corin at the end of the book. He goes and he fights the Bear of the Stormless Head, does 32 rounds, and gets the nickname of Corin Thunderfist. So fantastic. I love Corin, like, so much. Corin's just the best. Okay. And then what are at least 4 references or similarities between the book and the Bible? First off, Moses, he's found floating in a basket, and he is picked up by Arshish the fisherman. It's based on Exodus. Fisher, apostles, clear connection there. The 12 tombs, 12, holy number right there, pretty easy. Arshish is also similar to Joseph's brothers in that he's willing to sell Shasta, if you didn't pick up on that. Joseph. Let's see. Narnia is similar to the Promised Land. They have to cross the desert to get to it, much like the people of Israel who were wandering in the desert in the wilderness for 40 years. So there you go. If you also notice, Calormen has all of these gods that are like night. If you noticed in Erebus' story about when she was going to be married off against her will, and she said that she was going to go and offer like the sacrifices or whatever for, I think it was Zardina, the lady of the goddess of the night. So all of their stuff is like crescent shaped, like the moon, and their gods are all very terrible and awful and just murder you for any slight mistake, and it's all very much grounded in night. And you'll notice Narnia is very much daylight and the sun, and very much Jesus, and it's all based in the daytime. When Shasta arrives in Narnia for the first time, it's daylight. He comes through this mist, like the night, and it's dark, and then he suddenly bursts out and there's sunlight and he's in Narnia and he doesn't realize it. So it's, the sun. Aslan is like the sun, dawn, all of that. Let's see, what other stuff? Oh, I love it. When Bree is talking and saying he's not sure he wants to go back, and he's backing up against the hedge and hiding his tail, and he's starting to say, well, they don't mean he's an actual lion. They say that he's, strong like a lion, but he couldn't be an actual beast like us, because he would have whiskers and a tail, and it doesn't realize he's on the hedge behind him. Imagine the panic. And so he drops down, and Aslan tells him, "Feel my whiskers. I am a beast like yourself. Feel all of this." Much in the same way that Jesus became a man like us, and bore the weight of our sin. So Aslan is like the inhabitants of his land, who are mostly animals. So he is an animal. And then also with that, he tells him, feel and touch, which is exactly what Jesus says to Timothy after the resurrection. He says, here's the hole in my side, feel it. There are the holes in my hands, feel them. Touch, because it is real. I am real. And that's fantastic. Oh, when, oh my goodness, when is it? It's when Rapidash is saying what is going to happen to Narnia after he attacks it. He's saying, like, the rivers will run red with blood. That was a sneaky little reference to the 10 plagues of Egypt, if you noticed. And also, if you notice, there are, like, no mountains at all in Calormen. Mountains mean you're close to God. And so there's, like, no mountains there, which is interesting that Aslan is not in Calormen. He's in Narnia, which is across mountains, and there's tons of mountains in Anvard, like around Anvard, and in Narnia. So it's almost like they're closer to God because they're surrounded by all of these mountains. So anyways, that's a quick overview of a lot of references. There's also, of course, the reference of stripe for stripe, which I had you copy out in one of the worksheets, because Aravis gets the 10 scratches on her back, similar to how the slave was whipped 10 times because she was accused of not keeping a close enough eye on her. And she says, well, it doesn't matter, she's just a slave. And he says, well, you needed to know what it felt like. And so there was the return eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, stripe for a stripe, coming from Exodus, I think it was 21:25, I think. I might be wrong on that, though, so don't quote me. Pretty sure it's 21:25. But anyways, there's also that in there. So hopefully I've given you a lot of things. I think I said at least 4. I don't know how many I just listed, but it was definitely more than 4. So anyways, I hope that you have enjoyed the book. I love this book so much. Oh my goodness, so good. Corin, just fantastic. So great. Father, can I box him, please? Oh my goodness, I love it. Okay, anyways. Sorry, I get so excited when it gets to Corin because it's just so fantastic. I think I've said fantastic probably 17 times in this video, but it is though. That's why. Okay, I hope you have enjoyed this book. We will be taking the final test next week, which is going to be, oh my goodness, what day is that? The 30th, the last day of April. You will be taking the final test, which is Thursday. And then after that, we move on to our last book of this year. What? And for the last book of this year, there are no worksheets. And there's not really a final test. I might modify that and make it just like a chat-in or phone call final test, maybe. But generally the last one, I just want you to enjoy it. So we will get into that. I can't believe we're almost done. There are 7 weeks of school. This is the 7th week of school before the end of school. So the year's almost over. This is crazy. Okay. Anyways, I miss you all very much. I hope you've enjoyed this. And I hope that everything is going well for you at home with your studies. And I hope to see you all soon.